I'm on live podcast.
All right. And there it is. What's happening, everybody? This is Mercury's Cast. I'm your host, Travis Montgomery. I am joined by Mr. Alexander, who is here normally. And then we've got one returning guest, one new guest. All people that I'm excited to talk about, as always, as we mostly do communicate through the interwebs through Facebook and cool groups like Memes, Kings, and Queens and shit like that. So today we're going to have a discussion about poverty, and a couple of us on this live feed have experienced growing up in somewhat could say, a type of a poverty situation, not exactly a fourth or third world, because we live in the
third world too.
United States of okay. Well, yeah. Well, hey, I stand corrected then. Let me bring to you now Mr. Alexander, and I can't pronounce his new name, but it has to do with possum because possums are a spirit animal. How are you doing there, my friend?
Mr. Alexander Tlaquache is doing pretty good, actually.
Tlaquache. I'll get the pronunciation down maybe before I get the spelling down because I couldn't remember it again.
That's meth for possum.
Meth?
Meth. I'm doing all right. Doing swell.
Okay. And I hope our feed's a little bit better this week.
I hope so too.
And now, without further delay, we got Darien Parlick on deck. He's ready to drop some knowledge on us. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Wow.
You're the one that introduced me to that group, Memes, Kings and Queens. And my buddy Gary got reported today. He might have got zucked, but he got banned.
Oh wow, that's unfortunate.
It is. And Miss Olivia to bring to the table now. And the reason why this is so special. Hi. How you doing? You're looking good over there. Very pretty. The reason why this is special is 83 is the number of the episode today. 83 is also my football number, and it goes in along with a lot of my PIN codes. And also, I've been trying to get a female guest on forever, and no one's ever stepped up to the plate. And I thank you very much for coming on and being the first female guest out of 83 episodes.
All right, thank you. Happy to be here. It's
not for lack of trying either, but I've got like two maybe lined up. But at any rate, it's good to.
As a bonus, this is also the first time. I think this is the first time someone's had a significant other on the show.
Oh,
gang.
That too.
Gang.
Yeah, me and Olivia are dating.
Wow. So this is how you're gonna tell me, Travis? This is how you tell me.
No, it's actually me and Darien. We're love buddies.
We're common. What is that called? Common law. Something like that. Partners.
What do they call it in Muslim?
Property. Call it property.
No, it's actually Alex and Olivia that are a thing, if you want to call
it. Thanks.
So, Alex, go ahead with the tech talk because you got Olivia. Anything that you want to say, just going into the bat before we do tech talk? That anything on your mind?
No, nothing in particular.
Your makeup is looking fly, girl.
I tried. I didn't want to show the ugly. I didn't want to be ugly while on YouTube. I've never been on YouTube.
Well, you are now.
Guys,
yeah, it is.
This is making my iPhone super hot. Is that normal?
Yes.
Like sexual?
Really? No, but seriously, like this thing is like not like
my phone turns into like a molten brick when I'm doing these shows.
Yes,
really?
This it creates a lot of draws a lot of power, so that the power is going to create some heat. So it's totally normal.
Okay. Just checking.
If it explodes, then oh well. Anyways, moving right on. Alexander, you got the tech talk for the week.
I do. Ironically, the person with the worst tech connection right now is doing the tech talk. But somewhat interesting topic brought up to me today. Apparently, Elon Musk is experiencing some union issues. Allegations of trying to union bust. The source I found was MSNBC, and that was through documents obtained by BuzzFeed. So I'm not sure, I can't quite quantify just how little I trust the sources. But, and this will be a short one, I think the most interesting thing is to counter the unionization, Elon Musk has offered his employees roller coasters and frozen yogurt machines at his locations. And I just felt like that would be an interesting tech talk for today. So do you guys think you would forego being unionized if offered frozen yogurt and roller coasters?
Yeah, I would do it for a lot less than that.
Yeah, unions are not a good thing. I mean, the electrical union is one thing, but when you get people that try and bully people into being unions, or you get these union guys that come out and they will get in the ear of like a minimum wage worker. That happened at my wife's hotel, I guess you would call her that, where they had these union reps getting in the ears of these people that would turn down the beds and clean up the rooms and do stuff like that. So they got these union people getting in the ears, so they're going after they're trying to take business away. I think unions have too much power in there, that they have lobbying power, and that's where my issues with unions come in.
I just thought it was interesting that the man with the company that made the world's first commercially accessible flamethrower is using roller coasters and froyo machines to combat union plants.
Yeah,
I feel like that's very fitting and is pretty much on par for Elon Musk.
Agreed.
fucking froyo, bro.
Like, I wasn't
He's
thinking outside the box.
Froyo is really good.
It is.
So ultimately, today's tech talk is, and you guys can leave this in the comments. I encourage it. What is your favorite flavor of froyo, and should Elon Musk develop his own super scientific flavor-enhanced version of froyo?
Wow, what would he do? It would probably be something red to do with Mars or a rocket ship or something like that.
Mars froyo with real Mars dust.
Yes, Mars.
That's not carcinogenic.
The name of it.
Everything's carcinogenic. America.
Except Mars dust.
Mars dust.
So what's the ultimate conclusion of this tech talk that you think should be noted? What's the ultimate takeaway from this?
The ultimate takeaway is it's interesting how even large tech companies experience the same. I guess it's only a tech talk because it's a tech company question. Really, it's a politics talk or an economics talk. But I think it's interesting when you go into tech companies, they're not immune to.
Darien, stop moving so much.
You guys can hear that?
Yeah.
My mic is muted. Sorry.
Your mute button's not working. It's all right. It's all good. It's not a big deal. I'm just.
I know.
Whatever.
The freezy pop. Tech companies are not immune to the same plights of any other industrial, industrial or commercial field. So, I just thought it was interesting because roller coasters and froyo personally, and we didn't have a tech talk. So I hope our listeners appreciate roller coasters and froyo. If so, it's been a successful segment.
So he's going to have roller coasters where they work, or
at the factories.
Yeah, that seems like an Elon Musk move to me.
Yeah.
Like, do you or a better conclusion is I'm seriously reaching out to our listeners. Please definitely feel free to comment on the YouTube or on the Facebook page whether you think that froyo machines and roller coasters will help with morale at work and potentially increased production, productivity.
Fuck yeah. You get a little bit of adrenaline rush and then you get a little bit of a sugar rush on your break. Come on.
Yeah.
My job tends to have like popcorn day, nacho day, hot dogs, I guess. Free food once a week and spirit weeks. Prizes for, I guess, productivity. So, I mean, some people win TV, some people win money. I won a contest for May the 4th since I dressed as Darth Vader. So, I mean,
Darth Vader.
depends. Darth Vader. Yes, I was Darth Vader. So,
right on.
I think stuff like that can help. It just, depends on the company and the type of work.
Cool deal. Well, now that we've got roller coasters and sweet, delicious treats out of the way, wink, wink. Well, let's kind of dive in to the where the idea behind this whole show came from. What we're doing today is that Darien, I have heard you speaking a couple times about just when we go back and forth about just other random stuff, and then you'll be like, "Look, I grew up really poor." And in kind of relations to some of these social videos that we see happening today. And so to kind of start it, so was your first home that you can your first memories as a kid, was it in Chicago or were you somewhere else?
No, I lived in Chicago. When I was a kid, I grew up. My mom and a 2-flat apartment building, which me and my 4 siblings lived in. Well, actually 3 at that time. And then we ended up losing that. And then I went with my dad.
So you lost a sibling?
No, we lost the house.
Oh.
And then I ended up no, they're all still. Fortunately, I guess they're all still here.
I didn't even know that you had siblings, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a brother and 3 sisters. And then I ended up moving with my dad in a house that he inherited from my grandparents. And then we lost that. And then I ended up moving back with my mom.
House?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess his brother owned it. I don't know how that went down. I was a kid. Honestly, I never really asked him about it, but I guess I should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then so then went back with my mom, and it was bouncing around from apartment to apartment, and then now I live with my brother in his apartment.
So what was your guys' level of poverty like?
Oh, dude, I'm talking like oatmeal for dinner every night, plain rice for dinner for large portions of my childhood. We had a wood-burning stove. I mean, not that my parents didn't care or try or anything. It was just, it can be hard on some people, especially with certain life decisions that they make. We had when I lived with my pops, we had a wood-burning stove. He took the fucking furnace out, and this is in Chicago, mind you. He put a wood-burning stove in there, and we used to burn wood that we would get for free to heat the house in the winter.
Oh.
Yeah. It's pretty lit, though. When I was a kid, I got to go home and play with fire. And it would keep the house hella warm.
That's my situation right now, too.
Nice. I like it.
I love it.
Olivia, I understand that you might have grown up under even maybe possible worse conditions. Can you tell me what your earliest memories of maybe being poor was like?
My earliest memories are from Juarez, Mexico, since that's where I was born. Grew up there until I was about 5, 6 years old. And earliest memories is that our house was very poorly built. Wasn't built completely, so it was still mainly like a structure with like cheap wood, no concrete, no bricks. And very small 2-bedroom. It's just a kitchen and a bedroom area. And I just mainly remember walking around the streets, people getting stabbed, shot. We would have to hide inside the house. Both my parents worked, so my older brother and sister had to look after me as soon as they got out of school. I did spend a lot of time alone as a toddler. in the house since no one was there to look after me.
So alone as a
Um,
toddler in the house.
Yeah, same.
mhm. In a really bad neighborhood too. So usually we were hungry. We didn't have that much food.
What would you guys eat?
Abusive. So, uh, I remember the one particular memory is that we didn't have any food and all we had was white bread and Valentina hot sauce. So we would just, you would just pour the Valentina sauce in the middle of the bread and roll it up and eat it. So that's what we had for dinner.
Same.
I do recall my brother eating the dog food once.
Ooh.
I don't know why. I don't remember if it was because we were hungry or because he was just being stupid. I mean, he is 10 years older than I, so it was about maybe 14, 13 when that happened. So
Damn. Well,
lots of stuff.
I used to make ketchup sandwiches, but that was by choice, and everyone thought I was crazy. Mr. Alexander, do you have anything to contribute to this type of like earliest type of memories and maybe the food that you would eat?
As far as like early life, we were in Newport Richey, Florida, in a really, really bad neighborhood. One of quite a few times in my life where I've been a minority. We were renting this house, and there were too many of us for this house. So me and my older twin brothers, we had our own room that was just a garage that had been. It was one of the older garages with the French doors, not the rolling door.
Okay.
And it was just repurposed into a room. We were out there with the water heater and all that. It was definitely not a great place to grow up, and I remember being unsupervised a majority of the time. I think that our dog pretty much was our, caretaker during the day. Definitely, my mom worked full time. Her boyfriend at the time was not the most responsible person, and it's me and 5 other kids in a pretty shitty house in a pretty shitty area. For food, it depended. I think that there were other periods in my childhood where I went hungrier than the earliest period, but most of the meals were like meals that could be made for large groups of people. It definitely wasn't quality food, wasn't the most nutritious food. It was usually like on my favorite dinner was always SOS. For people unfamiliar, that's fried gravy toast.
Open face sandwich.
Yeah, SOS, shit on a shingle.
Yeah, open face sandwich. Yeah.
So that, and occasionally frozen peas with that, or large quantities of toast. But I mean, there were definitely periods where I went hungry, but I don't think I starved when I was that small. I think the worst part of that was me roaming around barefoot, uh, 5, 6 years old, unsupervised on streets with like glass and shit. It wasn't. I think my childhood I wore shoes maybe like 5, 6% of the time.
Well, damn. It certainly told you to watch your step, I guess.
Oh, I had feet that were probably the same hardness as concrete. My entire bottom of my foot was a callus.
Nice. Well, then why even wear shoes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oft.
That's what a lot of people in Africa.
Later on, situations did change. The only other thing I can remember is when I was about 7, we moved and we were living in this little shitty single trailer with a kitchen add-on. So, and that was in a far worse area. I mostly just, I think I was a lot hungrier then too, come to think of it, getting into those repressed memories.
Those are the best.
Not that my mom,
Mhm.
it's not that my mom didn't cry, it's just that shit just kept happening, and in life, a lot of things can happen over and over and make your situation worse and worse. But she always tried her best. It's not like she was out of work. She was always working full time. She was always trying. So I don't want this to sound like I'm blaming her, but it was definitely not a cushy middle class upbringing.
No,
Like,
and that's a good point. It's sometimes just unfortunate circumstances happen, and sometimes you get shitty parents. That is the unfortunate circumstance, and sometimes it's just what it is. So Darian's muted right now.
I'm back. I'm good.
Olivia, were your parents working? Were they both at home?
No.
In Mexico.
My
And where is
mom,
Mexico?
my mom was working at a factory for Philips TVs, and as far as my biological dad, he wasn't always working. From what I recall, he used to be a security guard, I think, and then he just wasn't home as often because he was having affairs. And then eventually my mom finally divorced him. So she was the one making the most money, and he would just kind of spend it. So we were always struggling. And we were already poor as it was.
Did the divorce happen?
It started around age 4, age 5.
Do you remember any of that stuff going on, or
yes, I do.
Your mom was on her own after that?
Yes, she was. So what happened was that while we were living in the little crappy little house, sorry, excuse my language, the little house there.
No, you can say whatever you want.
Very poorly built.
Doesn't bother me.
It's just that during a few years, we were also building a brick house in the back area of the property, and it was 2 stories. And by the time it was built, that's when they had been separated, and she ended up getting a restraining disorder. So I wasn't seeing him a lot, and I was little, so I would miss him, and I would cry about it. And so did my siblings.
Oh, that sucks. So other than the bad negative parts, was your dad a pretty good dude to you guys?
No.
But you just missed him.
He would beat us.
He was your dad, and you just missed him because he was your dad.
Yeah, he was just our dad, and I missed him even though he wasn't a very good parent.
Well, that's shitty. I don't get to see my son every day, and I know that he misses me, and I consider myself a good dad. Anyways, let's jump back over to Darien. What about going into adolescence and stuff like that? I know Alex moved around a shit ton, which it's going to be really difficult to try and pin his experience down. But were you moving around a lot too?
We see, the thing with my mom is that she would move different apartments a lot. We would move to apartment, but we pretty much stayed in the same general area of Chicago, the Lower West End, which is like the South Side, but it's not the south side. It's like 35th, and it's not that far south, but it's south enough. It's so we basically stayed over on the Lower West End, which started to clean up after 2010 a little bit. But back when I was growing up, I moved over there in 2005. And then it was pretty bad over there at the time. I remember, there was the street, 35th Street, would divide these 2 gang territories between like the SDs and the Counts. And it would, you'd be standing outside in the summertime and fucking there would just be a shootout.
Is there a gang called Folks out there?
The what?
Folks.
Okay, so here's how this goes down. That's a prison thing. Folks and the people.
Somebody, when I got locked up one time.
Yeah, that's a prison thing, or a jail thing.
Never mind. Go ahead.
My bad. So what it is that they split up into factions. When you go, so let's say that 2 gangs out. Let's say I don't know what the affiliation is, but I know let's say you got the SDs and the Kings. Okay, they're rivaling out on the street, but once you go into prison, it's not split up like that. It's either split up by 5-star crown or the 6-star crown, and that's folks and people. I don't know which is which actually, but I just do know that the gangs they split up into 2 major factions once you go into prison. So all that street beef, you leave it out in the street, and then I don't actually know fully the details of how that works.
It usually goes by race.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyways, so you were pretty much located in Chicago.
Yeah.
What kind of junior high school did you go to?
Junior high, I went to this place, Evergreen Academy. It's a really good school for public school. Really good. Cool. It's a cool school, neighborhood school, but their motto is excellence is the expectation, and they live up to that.
Was it a mix of people from the hood and people that were middle class?
Oh no, I mean I grew up in a neighborhood that was 89% Latino, 7% white, and the white people that lived there were probably like my cousins, uh, and like maybe 10% Asian or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alexander, how many different junior high schools, elementary
Well,
schools did you go to?
Elementary schools. Went to Calusa Elementary. That was an interesting school in Florida. Went to one in Ohio. No, two elementaries in Ohio. Uh,
sorry.
three elementaries in Ohio, actually. And then three middle schools in Ohio, one middle school in Kentucky, and one middle school in Texas. And then
So
high school, I went to two high schools in Ohio and one high school in Texas.
and what was it? So you were moving around in Ohio a lot. Was that due to different work situations that your mom was going through? I haven't got the whole story. I know that you're close with your mom now, and you spent a lot of time with her. I'm not sure how all that came to fruition.
Give you an idea of how close with my mom I am now, my address is only 2 numbers higher than hers. So, and it's on the same property.
Was she bouncing around jobs and stuff like
my
that?
parents are separated, so some of the moves in Ohio were going back and forth between my mom and dad's.
Okay.
My dad's house was always very stable, like the rudimentary lower middle class type upbringing. Certainly not affluent, but he had nicer things. There was a lot more stability there. But I think that a lot of my upbringing, being as chaotic as it was, I couldn't stand the stability. It was too quiet, too peaceful.
Wow.
And my dad has his own issues. He doesn't talk much, so
That actually explains a lot about you. That last sentence. You just like to disrupt shit sometimes. Anyways,
like you.
So let me ask all three of you: is there a certain amount of jealousy when you're growing up in poverty and you see people that have like the new Jordans or that they get dropped off in a certain type of car? Or
Nope.
anyone that just wants to no, so that was never a thing for you.
I actually felt, if anything, I felt towards them, and especially growing up the way I am now, I feel even worse. I don't envy them, and even then, I knew that what they were living was weakening them. I knew very early on that my upbringing was making me stronger.
Huh, that's interesting.
I was a bit precocious, so growing up and seeing the kids getting dropped off in their Escalades and driving around in their parents' BMWs, I always looked at them and I'm like, you haven't earned anything of your own. When I was in middle school, I ran my own lawn care service and I made bank. I was taught to earn my own money and earn my way through life, and it gave me pride in what I'd accomplished. So when I looked out and I saw these people with a bunch of stuff that they didn't earn, I didn't view them with jealousy. I viewed them with a kind of animosity of, you didn't earn that. You didn't work for that. You don't value that. You don't respect that. You're especially early years of high school, I looked at these kids lifted trucks and I'm like, mommy and daddy bought that for you. You're acting like you're some hard ass fucking hillbilly, but you're a bourgeoisie fucking upper middle class wannabe redneck. with your lifted truck, thinking, "Oh, I fish and drink beer. I'm so Southern." And I'm like, "You live in a McDonald's mansion. You don't know what it's like to be from the very culture that you're trying to act like you're from." Whereas I grew up in that.
Right. Yeah. Great point, Olivia. I wanna ask you the same question about seeing people that maybe have more than you and being jealous about it. And from where you grew up in Juarez, is that is that somewhat cartel related, or did you see any of those
Mm,
type of people?
I probably did, but I was too young to understand exactly
So when did you get
what was the
to
cause of the
America?
violence. Sorry?
Sorry, guys.
What was your Mr. Background noises? It's all good.
Sorry.
Um, it's what was your first city in America? Where'd you land? Where'd you land at?
Okay, so after my mom got the restraining order, she abandoned the house in Juarez and someone and we crossed the border to El Paso, Texas, which is where my aunt and uncle were living, and they eventually adopted me later on. But they drove us to San Bernardino, California, where one of my uncles was living, and he was also from Mexico. So that's the first American city I lived in, but I was visiting El Paso every once in a while I was living in Juarez to see my aunt and uncle.
And what was your first home situation and your first school situation like? How did that go about?
And San Bernardino, the first living situation, we stayed with my uncle and all his kids. And I guess things got a little tight, and my aunt and I mean my uncle and my mom weren't really getting along, so she ended up moving and renting a room. Eventually, she ended up getting an apartment. My brother and contributing to the household since he was the eldest, and it pretty much stayed that way. But because they were both immigrants and they weren't, they didn't have a working visa. They were just had a visiting one. They were just working under the table, and we moved around a lot for that reason.
Yeah, sounds pretty tough. Um,
Yeah, it was weird being scared of speaking Spanish at some point because we didn't want to be found out or deported and end up in the same situation we were in before, running away from my dad.
so was he like pursuing you guys after the obviously the restraining order? See, it kind of seems that way.
Yes, yeah, and I think he tried to kidnap me and my sister a few times, and this was also during the time where there's a lot of disappearances of little girls in Juarez, just disappearing and being found in the desert and that kind of stuff. So my sister was always really cautious when she was, walking me to and from school. Um, and right before we left, which was the reason we left, is the according to my siblings, they recall there being gasoline around the house. So uh, they called my aunt or my uncle, and then they came and picked us up immediately because they were thinking maybe someone was trying to light our house on fire with us inside, which isn't the reason why we ended up leaving.
Oh shit.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, it is heavy, and I'm sorry to lay that on you, but that's what happened.
No. That's fine. What kind of job did your mom get? Because obviously it's going to be tough. Coming here as an immigrant, you're not going to get a job at Google, or there probably wasn't Google back then, but you know what I mean.
Hmm. My mom was either cleaning houses or working as I guess one of those people that clean hotels. And my brother was working at uh, a Lutheran mission, um, who decided, go ahead and help him right after high school. Um, So he was earning pretty good money there, being their computer tech.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so yeah, he was a nerd, and he learned how to deal with computers in high school
So-
in Mexico and in the U.S.
So were you guys? Would you say that you were comfortable after the move? After you guys got situated, things became better for you. Were you
For
guys
me,
still comfortable, or
For me, they were fine. I wasn't really focused on not having things, and even though I did see a lot of kids who did, or I would get made fun of for my shoes or being worn out or looking really dorky and things like that, it didn't really bother me that much. I still made friends. I was a little bit of a quiet kid at the time, but none of that bothered me, but my situation did change once I turned 11 when my aunt and uncle decided to adopt me, just so that my mom wouldn't have to worry about looking after me since she had lost her job at some point. So to help out, they adopted me and took me back to El Paso. And
and
they
it
were,
sounds like your aunt and uncle were a little bit better off than the situation
yes,
you're in.
they had a Mercedes and an Escalade.
Oh,
My adopted dad was a retired sergeant from the army, so I think he was like an E6 or E7, so he was making pretty good income. On top of that, he was 100% disabled from his service in Vietnam, so he was also on disability.
well, I'm glad they took care of him because they don't seem to take care of a lot of veterans in this country, which is huge, huge
Yeah.
tragedy. So that's cool. Darien,
Not cool.
what was your preteen and teenage?
Okay, so
Did you envy people that where you would see them have some stuff, or be
well,
like, "Shit, I
it
gotta
wasn't so I was my dad's only kid, but I was my mom's one of five of my mom's children. And so living with my dad, I had dirt bikes and stuff, and I was always home alone. I was a latchkey kid, but I had everything I need. I didn't really wasn't really hungry much at all when I was with my dad. I had a bunch of badass toys. He let me, play with the cool stuff, and my dad, he did a good job. But when I moved with my mom, it was harder. I didn't really envy seeing material things because I had cool stuff. It's just I envied like them being able to get proper dental care. Like I was at one point, I remember when I was like 12 or 13 years old, me and my friends, we used to skateboard a lot. That's like all we did in the summer. And I put my shoes, strung them over my face like goggles, and I was like watching TV through the soles of them, and like that was the kind of shit that I would envy. It wasn't more or less like the cool material shit. It was just the fact that like I knew statistically, even as a kid, I was just less likely to succeed in life because of the hand that I was dealt. Kind of started to sink in too a little bit in my teen years. That's not really resentment, but it was just frustration with the situation. And my other friends would go off to college, and I dropped out at 16 to get a job so I wouldn't be hungry. So I could have money in my pocket, and like I just didn't give a shit about school. So it was just the fact that these kids, they were allowed to focus on things that mattered, and I was
So hold on, real quick. You said that you dropped out at 16 so you wouldn't be hungry.
Yeah,
So-
I got a job.
So you dropped out of high school.
Well, I dropped out of high school because they were going to kick me out, and I told them, well, go fuck yourself, basically, and I'm not coming back. And then I decided to start working because I had already been working, and as a kid, I used to do like Alex said, I would shovel snow and rake leaves and stuff, and I made good money. But I just desired to work so much more than I desired to study, because when I got home, there's five people at each other's necks all the time because the house is dirty, you can't fucking eat, so everybody hates each other. So how the hell am I going to sit down and write a fucking paper? You know what I mean? I was like, dude, I'm not going to go to college here, and I'm not going to
True.
get,
But
that's the kind of stuff I resented.
so here's kind of what my takeaway from this is from you and Alex, and I'm not sure, maybe this could apply to Olivia as well, is that it's not normal for kids to have to go out and get a job when they're kids.
Well, not anymore.
Well, even back
Not
then,
anymore, that's true.
even back then, it's most people don't grow up like that in America, where
No.
you have to go get a job just so you can you don't have to see your parents fight over, or your parents are making you get a job that's
Well, in all fairness, my job, the lawn mowing service and enterprise. I was living on a military base, having a
start
well.
start over, Alex. You cut out for a little bit.
Mine wasn't a necessity. It was I wanted. My parents at that point in time provided for me pretty well, but I wanted things. They weren't going to buy things for me because the money that they had was for necessities. So I was in a good situation where I was on a military base. Lawns have to be kept standard on military bases. So if you didn't keep it up to standard, they'd come out and mow it for you for like $50, and they'd charge you straight out of the servicemen's paychecks. So what I did was I offered services at like $20, $25 to maintain lawn with good economic, I guess, opportunistic economic situation. Because these are people that didn't have time to mow their lawns, but didn't want to pay $50 for them to do it. So I snuck in and made my money. I made a lot of, honestly, I made more money then than I do now. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't paint that as success. Yes, there were that had nice things that they didn't have to earn, but I didn't work to feed myself so much as I worked to have nice things.
Okay.
I want a new Nintendo. I work for my Nintendo.
Yeah, that's cool. My dad used to make us clean the whole backyard for like a quarter. But he owned an electrical company. I didn't grow up nearly in the same manner that you guys did. But my problem was I was still a badass little kid, and I just made terrible decisions. And that might have to do with me not having that financial stress or that financial stress at home. I mean, maybe it was close to that at sometimes, but I never felt it. I was always just always just a badass kid, and I hung out with other little badass kid, and we just did badass shit. It was just and transitioning into adult life, I feel like maybe if I had grown up poor or grown up with some kind of struggle, that maybe some of my decision making would be a little bit better than it is today. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, sorry.
No, but go ahead. I just thought it was.
I did bad shit too. It's just I was really smart at not getting caught, so I conveyed that to my friends, and we always did bad shit together too. But usually it was in some sort of entrepreneurial sort of demeanor, and to make money or something. And at that point, and who the hell? I mean, I had my first job at 9, so who the hell was going to tell me otherwise? You know what I mean? Once I broke 6 foot, nobody could whoop my ass anymore. So I was my own man at that point. You know.
When did you break 6 foot?
I don't know, probably like 15 or something like that. But I'm saying, like, once I dropped out of school and I was working, what the hell was somebody going to tell me? You know, at that point, the worst they could do is say, "Get the hell out of the house," you know, which they never did. Thank God
I think
for that.
I think it's particularly funny that you said that, Travis, because most often the excuse I hear for people who commit crimes, oh, they grew up poor. They didn't have any other opportunities. They were forced into a lot of
that
whole hold on, yeah. Wait, hold on. Let him finish, Darien, and I have a lot to say about that too.
I think it's funny that often they say, "Oh, they were forced to crime." I had this issue with an ex. She would always say, "Oh, my brothers were forced into a life of crime. We grew up poor," and I'm like, "I grew up poor too, but all it did was push me to be a productive member in society." All the people I knew that had things that I'd like to have were high functioning, productive members of society. I didn't look at the criminal lifestyle like, oh, look at all the nice shit they've got. I looked at the person in the nice suit going, wow, that person has money. I want to be like the person in the suit.
Okay. So before Darien, before you go, because me and Darien we touched on this a little bit last night when we were texting each other. I think that you two and Olivia might be an outlier in this thought. Is that in our culture today? If you look at the glamour and the Kardashians and the rap culture, where everyone's they got the bling bling mentality, and then in the hood you see the only person with money is the one that's selling drugs. I think there is something to be said for that, where they go and they have shitty parents, and they're like, this is the only way that I'm going to be able to ever do anything for myself is to sell drugs or to rob and steal and not put in the hard work that you guys were willing to do at a very young age. And I think that's a problem in our society right now.
I'm fairly certain had some less safety businesses.
Say that again.
I said I'm fairly certain Darien had less than savory businesses, though.
Well, that's what I was just gonna get to, man. And so, I had my first.
By the way, so have I. I've went to jail for selling weed, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to get at. Like, I mean, I think, Alex, the key difference in when you're saying, well, their excuse is they grew up poor. I mean, my dad was the son of a Nazi killing, fucking hardworking union guy. So he had a lot of discipline growing up, and he put that into me.
Nazi killing?
Yeah, oh yeah. My grandpa was a badass. He was
he was in the war.
Yeah, he was a crazy guy, and he put that into my. He put a lot of that energy into my dad. My dad told me that my upbringing.
I thought Antifa for a second, but anyways, go ahead.
The OG Antifa. No. Anyway, so I had a male role model, a father figure, and a damn good one at that too. And he put a lot of work ethic in me. I mean, there's kids now that I would see. My dad always used to say this: these kids don't know how to use a broom. Well, he always taught. I was always on a job site with him. I used to go to work with him when he would work in factories sometimes, and when it was allowable. And he put a lot of work ethic into me, and that's what I was able to take and live on and live off of. But don't get it twisted though. Once I got a little older and the discipline kind of sort of skeeted out the window a little bit when I moved with my mom, she just couldn't keep a handle on all the kids like that. So I became a teenager. I started to become more of my own man. You better damn believe I started breaking the law. I mean, I'm not going to get descriptive and sell myself out, but I made in a week. Working at about a month's pay that I got when I started working at Subway full time, I would make that in 2 days. You know what I mean? So why the hell would I bother doing anything? Why the hell would I bother going to work? You know what I mean? Once I got an idea, and once I moved to the hood and I realized hey, wait a minute, I'm out here trying to hustle like a jamoke. Why should I do this? Why the fuck should I go and pay my taxes and stuff? And
I think it's jamook.
Whatever, something like that. Some one of those. I don't know. Maybe it's a pronunciation up here. Is that a derogatory term? I don't know. I think it just means like bum or something. But
that's so yeah, better link for anyone that wants to go on YouTube to watch it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to conclude this thought. I think that it comes to the lifestyle that was we're given a sort of idea of what life is young, and I think that might have something to do with the role models that were there in our early adulthood and. Father figures, like you said, your dad, he sounds like a pretty, like a clean cut, sort of like a no nonsense type of guy.
Well, there's a lot to say about my dad. He's from Brooklyn.
Well, I mean, Alex. Sorry, not Travis. Alex.
My dad I spent maybe 2 years with my dad until I reached about 22 years of age. So out of 22 years, I spent maybe 2 years with him.
Okay.
And my mom's men that were in her life until even my current, like my stepdad's, he's got issues. But until then, like her boyfriend when I was growing up was a fucking addict. I didn't have strong male role models. I had a very strong female role model.
Oh, well, that works too.
She was a hardworking person, and she was also no nonsense. Like she worked at Home Depot in hardware. So she did work, and she didn't have a traditionally effeminate job.
Right.
But the role model is the point that I really wanted to make, though. Like, something in our youth separated us. Maybe it was environmental, maybe it was exposure, but something separated us from that idea. You know, these kids that I know, kids that are 14 years old right now that are the kingpins right now, that carry M16s. I you know, and the reason is that they don't have the opportunities like we have and stuff. So
I know peers I grew up with very strong and intelligent parents, hard work, good ethic, that grew up to be the kids that say, "Oh, I didn't have a choice. I grew up poor."
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I don't think it's fair to use that as an excuse. Ultimately, it's a choice.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but would you say poverty is a choice? So no, if you grew up poor and it wasn't your choice,
poverty isn't a
not
choice.
for the kids, but you have a choice to try and get yourself out of. You have a choice to try and take a quick route out of that type of poverty situation, and which I think that if you just look at American culture, especially with what we see on TV and in pop culture, especially, is that if you don't have this, then you're not that kind of.
But I've heard you talk plenty, kind of to put this. You're basically speaking against, because I've heard you speak out against immigration, illegal immigration. They're taking the easy way out. These are people in poverty.
I think you just put some words in my mouth, but go ahead.
I know I've said that.
These are people in poverty. These are people in poverty that are trying to find a quick way out of it. And usually coming to America is a quick way to get out of poverty when compared to countries where it's hard to make cash. They didn't do it the right way, but they did it a way to get by. It's the only option they felt was available to them.
Well,
I think it's two different
mindset,
two different issues completely.
I have a short piece I'd like to just add in here. So when you said something like you would see people who you would want to aspire to, like you'd see people in suits or people with nice things, or maybe businessmen, or what, you painted a picture sort of like this people that you had seen and that you would want to aspire to. You got to think about, man. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Inglewood or if you've ever been to South Shore.
Well, I'm not saying on the street. I never saw him on the street. I know.
No, I've been to all those places.
What I'm saying though is when you're asking a kid, a 12-year-old kid whose mom is a heroin addict and his dad, he don't know who he is, and the only male role models he has in his life are probably pieces of shit, and then think about the culture, man. Like I made that meme earlier, like, is this a culture? Like, think about the culture, the people that they grow up to idolize. It has to do with the music and all that stuff, but those are the people that you idolized for whatever reason. And I would relate to that too. I used to idolize people who were prestigious in their life. But these people, when you ask a kid that grows up in the typical Inglewood, impoverished type of lifestyle to not go out and sell a bag, you're asking them to swim against the stream.
Then how
drowned.
How are there so many people that come from that very environment and make something of themselves?
Because when
I was living in those streets and I had no.
Hold on, let Olivia talk. She's been quiet for.
It's a 50-50 chance. Some people like my mom, who saw a lot of things like that in Mexico City, ended up being someone pretty much in similar ideals like you did. I don't want to be in that stuff. I'll never do that. I'll be an honest person and I'll work really hard and I'll get to what I need to later on in life. And that's what she did. But the other half, just depends on their parents. It depends on their influences. If there's someone there to tell them, or if there's someone there not to tell them. And in my mom's case, no one really told her anything. She was just very observant as a child, and watched her mom struggle and selling bread on the streets near prostitutes, drugs, cartels, etc. I think it has a lot to do with personality and what entices that person at that moment. And you're talking about kids. Kids are not going to make the best decisions. And once they get into one specific track in their life, it's pretty hard to get out of, which is why a lot of these people end up in these types of situations for the rest of their lives. Sometimes I think
it does fall a lot on the parents, and in a lot of cases, having two parents not only in the household but in the child's life. The studies have been shown that people that the best privilege that you can have in this country is being raised by two parents. It's not being born white. It's not even being born in a middle class.
I don't know about that, because a lot of the people I know that have really fucked their lives up had both parents, had a cushy upbringing.
Okay, Alex, you do this thing all the time where you say, "Well, this is what I feel," and so your personal
I'm saying
does not represent a universal truth. You always go, "This is me. This is my experience. This is what I've seen. This is my friend," and it's not true. You can't. Your personal experience does not represent.
9 times out of 10, every fucking drug addict on the street I find, fucking heroin junkie, I ask them, why are you like this? And they go, oh, I've got, a really nice house I can go to. My parents are still married. I just fucked my own life up.
I will say that I will kind of stick my neck out for Alex here, that I do know a lot of people that have really, really nice lives, but they're just total sacks of shit. And I think that is because of something about the culture the way our culture took a turn after like the 90s, like after 1990. There's just this super, I'm going to get shit for this probably, but like effeminate, like participation trophy type of lifestyle. And that makes really soft people. Soft people cannot deal with adversity. Soft people cannot deal with trials. And I think I kind of agree with what Alex is saying a little bit here, in that, okay, so I know people, like he's saying, like they had both parents there. Parents had good jobs. The parents had enough time to spend with the kids. They went on vacation in the summers, but they were just still total pieces of trash. And I think that is because like they were raised soft. Like I was raised.
Mom and Dad will have my back. Mom and Dad will forgive me. Mom and Dad will have my back. I can fuck my life up as much as I want. I can always fall back on Mom and Dad.
Okay. Well, your interactions with people aren't bigger than the studies that have come out, where they've actually taken a survey across the whole entire land of America.
We found out during the election.
Followed people. Hold on, don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. They followed people for 20 years, hundreds of thousands of people, to make this study up. It just didn't come out of thin air. And so your personal experience, that is your personal experience. You're going to base it off of that. But what I'm talking about is the study.
According to polls and studies, Hillary Clinton won the election, didn't she? The polls all said that she won.
But Travis is right, though. To grow up with both parents is important, and it is a privilege. Yeah.
But I don't think that that's necessarily an excuse, because I've seen enough people with both parents to realize that anyone can fuck their life up, and it ultimately boils down to personal choice.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
I think it's the way you were saying it.
Where does your personal choice come from? It comes from morals that were instilled.
Okay, I don't talk like anyone in my family. I chose to enunciate myself. I chose to speak properly. I don't have the redneck twang. I don't speak, fucking, how y'all doing? Oh, dang old, I don't do that.
But why did you make the decision to enunciate? Where did that come from? I think it comes from experience and exposure.
Because I've done it since I was a kid, because I didn't want to sound like that. I didn't want to be like what I'm from, because everyone in my fucking family's not successful.
There you go.
Again, you're equating your personal experience as a universal truth.
My personal experience,
which it is not. You are an exception. You are not the rule. You are an exception.
I'm not an exception.
Yes, you are.
Because I've met people like me.
Okay. But I think we're an exception. I think you're an exception, man. Like, I think that, well, I don't know,
man. You're not the average citizen, as what we're speaking of.
What I'm saying is, personal choice is personal choice. And the more you give people excuses to put the consequences of their personal choices on outside forces, the more you excuse their behavior.
Yes, and that's something that was instilled by their parents. Why do you think they're like that? Because their parents allowed it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Their parents allowed this type of behavior, and I agree with Darien. It is a culture that has
You
popped
have a
out
choice.
and
If you have shitty
they
parents,
do have
you
they
have
have a choice. Well, I'm not talking about really shitty parents, but I'm just saying if that kind of behavior is accepted and there's a reward for it, regardless of what they're doing, they're going to keep doing it. That's just child psychology. That's just in general.
I had a really shitty male role model. You know what? You know what he taught me? He taught me exactly what I didn't want to be. So
Yeah,
I had a choice. I had a choice.
Yes, you have a choice, and people
You're the
do have
exception.
those choices. Nobody's arguing with you that they don't
Because
have that choice.
Shitty parents
The
create
people,
shitty humans. Okay?
they do,
One
but
shitty parent will create a very shitty human being most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
of course,
Sometimes.
but
But I agree with Alex. So it's like you have to at some point own up and be your own man. And
But if you haven't been taught the morals and the logical understanding about how society works,
Yeah.
and especially if you're taught that because you're black and because you only and I'll even use a single parent role, which is not talked about enough. But because you have these outlying pressures on you, that's just going to impede on your success as a human being. That is not what we should be teaching our kids.
Yeah.
We should be teaching our kids to empower them when they come from these bad situations. Not because you're poor and you'll never make it out of the ghetto, and because you were born this certain way that you don't stand a chance of making it in real life. You're never gonna have that Rolls Royce unless you sell drugs. This is,
or even worse, that somebody owes you something. Oh, that because you're born under these circumstances,
that is the worst
world
thing
owes
that you could teach
Yeah.
to your kids. You got to teach kids hard work, discipline, morality. All of these things need to be instilled in our kids. Not that they're a victim just out of the gate. As soon as they came out of the womb, they're a fucking victim. It's not what we should be teaching our kids.
yeah, it's a very egocentric culture that we have, and like what I wanted to mention before. Not everyone is capable of coming to that understanding or to that logic. Some people just don't develop that far.
It's true.
And
what I'm saying
could be genetic and could be environmental too.
And Carl, you're making it sound like they can do better, but you don't realize that these people probably can't. And
So
they're just stupid people just because they're stupid people. That's not
we can all do better.
really the case.
We
have evolved better, but
everyone can do better.
they can, but not everyone can realize that kind of.
The more we excuse it, the more we go, oh, you grew up without both
I'm
parents.
not excusing it. I'm just saying facts. I'm not excusing anything.
By parroting these statistics of, oh, well, you're less likely to. Well, how many years have we been parroting those statistics? Oh, you're less likely to. How about instead we go, I understand that you have a higher chance of this, but you are just as accountable as an adult, so we can end this vicious cycle, and maybe they'll learn, oh shit, this isn't going to keep working. So instead of perpetuating it by going, oh, well, we should, rather than should, how about we just go, here's what we can do. We can hold people equally accountable, regardless of their upbringing, their environment. We can hold them equally accountable. And if you hold them equally accountable, what they pass forward will be like, you know what, I really fucked up, but I'm not going to fuck my kids up because the situation I'm in, because I'm actually being held accountable, and my choices aren't being excused from my environment I grew up in. I need to give my child a better environment so I don't get as shafted as I got.
Completely agree.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the excuses and the bullshit, because to me it does not matter that they're less likely to succeed. There is still a possibility that they can. Everyone can do better. Everyone in this country can do better.
Can and will, and
we have the most opportunity of any fucking
things.
Out of every country, we have the most fucking opportunities. So nobody out there in this country has an excuse not to find a way to succeed.
Venezuela, hello, they have like the greatest thing going right now.
But then again, like, we're not all born equal. There's some people that are not going to be as smart as us four. Correct.
But regardless of being born equal, opportunities present themselves to everyone in this country.
Well,
as I'll say, this comes from a place of faith, but I believe that there's a constant force that is attempting to deteriorate away your character from before you wake up to after you go to sleep throughout the night. There is a force upon you that is attempting to deteriorate you as a spiritual being, or as a human, as a mind, as a soul. And if you go into some of these neighborhoods, not even like Inglewood, go to Little Village and see it's real, man. The devil is alive. You know what I mean? And you can't expect everybody to win these battles. Not to say that that excuses them and that it's okay, or that we're going to pat them on the shoulder and say, I'm sorry that you sold, 20 kilos of heroin throughout your 20s. But it's more or less like saying, like, okay, we're understanding, like, this is the cause of these types of problems. These are the cause of, like, gang violence or drug epidemic. It's more or less a point of understanding. I don't think it's like a point of like excusing, for me at least. But I think you're right to say that society does use these as excuses. Like, look at this MS-13 animal BS. Like they're talking.
Okay. Our friend of the show, Cara Phillips, has a point, and I'll lay it on you guys and see what you guys have to say about it. She says that our culture has fallen into a pattern. It is lack of integrity, in parentheses, meaning doing the right thing when no one is looking, and working hard. In many cases, the parents do influence these behaviors. There's a balance between genetics and environment, and some people not even necessarily hereditarily get some of these good genes, but sometimes people are just offshoots and they're genetically more driven than other people, and then other times it's the outside environment that creates the type of person that is going to succeed.
Can we get into the? Are we breaching the race IQ conversation?
I'm open for anything, man, and I know,
because I think that there's a genetic
exactly
factor that comes in. There's definitely a genetic factor, I think, that plays into people's mental health, and their mental health definitely plays into the decisions that they make throughout their life. I mean, I in many ways mirror the mentality of my parents, and so, and I imagine my kids would as well. So I can only imagine that the genetic imprint that parents growing up throughout the Jim Crow era, or growing up throughout like just trying to make it into this country as an illegal, I can imagine that they would pass on some sort of genetic trait that would instill similar behaviors, man.
And here's another thing. Here's another theory about how some of the Mexican boxers and even Mexican MMA fighters have just this great amount of cardio when they're fighting, to be able to, and this great amount of heart, is that they come from the fields and the farm working and stuff like that, where they have to have that kind of that stamina in order to just do the work. Olivia, would you say that's a good thumbs up? Or, and these things can be passed on, and one thing me and Cara are talking about is, even she's listening right now, the people being passed on certain fears or certain genetic traits that aren't physical. They happen to do with your subconscious. Like when you wake up in a panic, maybe we were running from tigers 2,000 years ago or something like that, or fear of spiders, fear of heights. It's a lot of these things that are passed down, and I just crossed a whole bunch of different streams right there.
I think you made some really good points, man. There's a guy who's studying Neanderthals that says that the reason why people might be afraid of the dark is that it's very possible that the Neanderthals were nocturnal, and that when Neanderthal and modern human first came to contact, for 50,000 years around the area of like the Canaan area, like the Middle East, where they first came into like contact, that there could have been like a period of 50,000 years of battle between like these large, like giant, huge creature Neanderthals that could rip us apart, and like modern humans. And so that could contribute to why still today we're like terrified of the dark and shit. Sorry, just wanted to.
Even any of us that are of any Caucasian descent have at least a little bit of Neanderthal.
Everybody has a little bit of Neanderthal, I think. Most humans, but I think
except for Africans. Except for Africans, by the way.
No, they do.
No, they don't.
One small tribe of sub-Saharan Africans. One very small group of sub-Saharan Africans.
I've never done this before. You know the emoji? I've never done that before, but I'm going to do it now. I've never ever seen anyone do that.
I do that. I do that all the time.
I love that emoji. I use it a lot.
But I've never seen it in real life. Anyways.
Or I do this.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up, though, Travis. That thing about like the genetic imprints of characteristics. It's interesting that you brought that up because that's something that interests me quite a lot. And I actually, throughout like the last year, especially with that Neanderthal topic, I've looked into it a great lot. I think when you're talking about the Hispanic boxers, maybe that has something to do with the culture of like the natives, because there was definitely a lot of cardio going on back in the day before horses came to this continent, and especially
Aztec wars and shit. I mean, come on.
running through the jungles and shit from pumas and stuff. Yeah, I think that would definitely contribute to the cardiovascular conditioning of a race.
Their endurance.
Yeah.
Well, you got anything to add? I feel like we're just Mike hogging over you.
Sorry, I steamrolled it.
No, we all are. Alex is usually the one, but we're all doing it right now.
Hello.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Miss?
No, let's probably start this with a question.
Well,
it's a far cry from the silliness that was going on before the show, huh, guys?
Oh yeah. all them delicious snacks.
While she percolates a stance on that, I do have an interesting addition. I don't think IQ necessarily is a gauge of overall intelligence or ability for problem solving or critical thinking. I don't think it's necessarily indicative, because I've met many high IQ people that make really poor decisions, and I've met some low IQ people that make excellent decisions.
Yeah. That doesn't equate to discipline. And I was just thinking about this the other day. So there's a difference between being smart, being able to retain information, and intelligence. And intelligence is the ability to process information effectively. And being smart means that you can like figure shit out. And then remembering stuff, like Rain Man could remember your birthday if you told him 20 years ago. Does that make him somebody who you want to run your company? I mean, no.
IQ relates more to memorization, the ability to memorize information. Whereas problem-solving skills, although somewhat related, there are low IQ people with decent problem-solving skills.
Yeah, I don't even know what the IQ stands for, and even the two words that
intelligent quotient.
Sure, okay, sure. But how is that a measurement? How is that an accurate measurement of any fucking thing? It's not.
I think it has a reflection. I think it reflects your cognitive ability to an extent. I mean, when I took an IQ test, it was a pretty in-depth. There was quite a large variety of different types of problems that were sort of like how they would spell out a word in toothpicks, and it was like how many toothpicks are in this word, and it's a timed test and stuff. So I think it has some reflection of cognitive ability, but I don't think that it's like a good indicator of overall intelligence.
A better indicator is actually the ASVAB I've seen.
Oh, that's an excellent test.
The ASVAB does a wonderful job gauging your strengths in a lot of areas, but I don't think my biggest issue with the IQ based on race or inherited IQ is that IQ is not the end-all be-all for intelligence.
Right. I think what they're saying by IQ, though, is that they're using IQ as a reflective, like, example of, like, cognitive ability or just overall. It's a measurement, right? So it's like not. I agree with you in saying that it's not that accurate, but I think the ASVAB, I took both of these tests within the last couple of years, and I think that the ASVAB definitely measures your intelligence in a very different way than your an IQ test will.
You know what? Off air, I think we should all do these tests and then compare results. But
I can give you my previous scores.
I've never done any.
But okay, so in a doomsday scenario, when shit really matters, when you need somebody to figure out how to fix something or how to, like I said, in a doomsday scenario, do you want the guy with the highest IQ, or do you guys want the guy that knows how to fix shit and do shit?
You want both. You want both of them.
That's
but
the
if you could have one of the
because so the high IQ person that also knows how is not only going to do it, but they're going to do it in the most efficient, effective, and in a way.
You can't have both. You can you only have one. Who do you want?
The high IQ can figure out how to do it.
Not really. Not if he's been in the lab his whole entire life.
Well, here's the thing. If shit hits the fan, you don't really need to repair. You're not going to need to do open heart surgery if shit hits the fan. You're going to need to stick and move and keep on moving and find food. So
but the idea, though, is that the high IQ person figure things out on the fly a lot better than the person who already has the stuff.
That's the
So
measurement of IQ. Then
new
that's the
problems
measurement?
present themselves. You need someone with good rationing,
rationality.
And you need someone who can quickly adapt. Adaptive thinking is what's important. So someone that
what
maybe
I'm saying is that not everyone that scores high on an IQ test just because they did this, and this does not mean that they're going to be able to do that.
So let's do a theoretical situation. You've got an electrician who knows every single thing about modern electronics or modern electricity, running modern electricity. Now, let's say something happens and there is a groundbreaking change in running electronics. Maybe everything is put on its head. Which person is going to have an easier time learning the new technology? Is it going to be the person with a higher ability to learn? Or is it going to be the person who knows everything about the current systems?
Well, I think that the person, and that's a bad example, I think, because I think if a master electrician were put into a situation like that, he's probably going to be able to figure it out with relative ease. I think I agree with you to saying that adaptability in that type of situation is more valuable than knowledge.
Like if the world ends, I want someone adaptable with me.
If the world ends, I want somebody who could ruck an 80-pound sack and fucking and know how to dismantle a fucking firearm, and put it back together. Yeah, I don't give a shit if open heart surgery. My fucking wife's my aunt's wife is the guy who invented the fucking brakes for like jet planes and shit. I don't give a shit about him because when we send him to the store, he gets lost. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather put him down than fucking have him be a liability. You know what I mean? Like,
that's funny.
You said that.
Well, I mean, I'm saying in a fucking worst case scenario like zombie apocalypse, you can honestly think about it. If shit hit the fan right now, post-apocalyptic situation, you got to think, man, there's a lot of people that you encounter in your daily life that are going to be a serious drain on your resources.
Me being a super nerd, I'm the kind of guy that sits down and watches fucking bushcraft videos, how to build,
and you're one of 100. Now think about all the thousands of people who are going to look to you as a messiah in that type of situation and who are going to be a fucking constant drain while you're trying to outrun commies or zombies or whatever. Bro, shit hits the fan, you're going to have to go ghost on everybody you know and just survive.
Hey, I can
You just basically pointed out that we would prefer the person who knows how to do those things instead of someone with high IQ. Basically, just what you said.
The adaptability.
You watched how to do those things.
Until last week or the week before, I didn't know how to do those things. But because I've got a high drive for learning new things and adapting quickly, my interests draw me to learn about these things.
But what if you get someone with high IQ and all that stuff who's never even seen anything like that being done?
I didn't know how. I had no idea how to build a possum enclosure until I went to Lowe's and on the fly designed one.
On the way there, fuck. I think you probably have
on the way there.
Anna, you were on the phone with me when I said, "Give me a second. I got to draw something up really quick. I want to see if this is gonna work. I just got to do some measurements."
I was paying attention. I saw something. You give me a doodle, but I was like, okay.
Guys, this is on topic here.
Just being honest.
This is kind of on topic.
I'm gonna bug you, Darien, to tell Alex something.
Go ahead.
We're gonna run a double here, and we're gonna post the first half tomorrow and the second half on Friday. Just because I feel like there's good energy going right now. But anyways, go ahead.
I got a question for you guys. This is something that I think about, especially with the way things are going. Everybody has that conversation when you're kids. What are you going to do when zombies pop out? Well, that's not really a concern for me at all. But there is a possibility of catastrophic events that happening, right? And I'm not in this like a total prepper mode, but I'm going to propose to you guys a serious question. Let's say I have somebody in my family who's severely obese, right? We'll use this as an example, but we're going to just say overlying disability. You're in a situation.
Talk about your sister like that, bro.
Whoa.
No. I don't know your sister.
Okay. Well, let's say that somebody in your family is missing a leg, right? Or some other overlying, some other type of disability that is going to prevent them from A, carrying a shitload of equipment on their back for 12 to 14 hours a day or 24 hours a day, and B, being effective in combat situations or oh shit.
You're good. Just keep going. It'll come back.
My camera turned off. Hold on. No, it's because I went into low power mode. How do I turn that off?
Plug it in.
Oh, I got it. Hold on.
You're almost done there.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Anyway, no, I'm good. And so, what are you going to do? Or, you know, I've heard people even use children as a in this example, but there we go. So you have somebody that's you know dependent on you, and they're going to be a severe liability in a situation where your survival is at stake. What do you do in that situation? Do you take on that liability and do you hope for the best?
So who is this person to me? Is it my child or is it my
could
sister?
be close family, somebody that would normally look to you as family and or
if it's my uncle, I'm saying, well, fuck you. You know, I got to carry on.
But it's just more or less a frame of mind I'm trying to draw out right now. Like,
and if so, yeah, we're getting stuck on this doomsday scenario, and
yeah,
that's
let's
great.
move off of that. Let's move.
No. I think it's great. We covered enough poverty. Unless anyone else has any kind of different thing to say, I kind of feel like this conversation would morph into something else. Which
I think that the doomsday topic and the type of topics that we're breaching over right now actually kind of really closely tie into the mindset of somebody growing up in a very impoverished,
you know what,
area.
Fucking A, dude. I cannot disagree with you on that.
You know, these are things I would think about constantly.
Some of the people like, yeah, dude, I made Kool-Aid out of you know, purple food dye, sugar, and walnuts one time, or something like that. You know, like,
Jolly Ranchers and
yeah, Jolly Ranchers and
I made Kool-Aid out of Jolly Ranchers and codeine. Wait,
oh god,
oh no, that's a
me
rich man's
too.
drug.
Yeah,
That's a rich man's drug.
It is.
That
It
is.
Fucking A. But yeah, who do you and I honestly would rather have the high IQ guy there because he's going to be able to figure shit out or come up with the new idea. What you really want is like a really impoverished, high IQ guy. You want low money, high IQ.
I thought of a really good analogy. Someone who knows how to build a home, who learned how to build a home out of proper building equipment, isn't necessarily going to know how to build a home out of stuff that you scavenge.
Unless he has a high IQ.
Unless he has a high IQ and go, okay, well, this will to bear the weight of this, and you know what, this will work, and you know what, maybe this will work.
You know,
I'd rather have spatial intelligence. You want someone with spatial intelligence, basically.
I've seen some Mexicans.
Someone who will be naturally good at constructing or engineering or building anything in particular.
Correct.
Just saying.
Would you rather have a Green Beret or would you rather have a structural engineer?
Green Beret.
Yeah, Green Beret.
I'm going to take the Green Beret because a lot of Green Berets have a lot of engineering.
You have to have some sort of intelligence to become a Green Beret.
Some sort of intelligence? You have to be wicked smart.
I'm fairly certain on the engineering portion of the ASVAB, you have to score extraordinarily to even be a Green.
Well, yeah, I know that you have to get a decent score. You can't be a flunky and get it.
So I think the issue with what you're presenting is that you're giving an example where...
Okay, let's say 11 Bravo. Would you rather have the engineer or infantryman?
Engineer.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather have Pikachu or SpongeBob?
I'd rather take the mage. I'd take a mage over the warlock.
I'm going to take a night elf Mohawk.
Between Pikachu and SpongeBob, I would take SpongeBob.
I would too. He's invulnerable. You can't kill him. You cannot kill him.
Well, you could dry him out, and I'm pretty sure if you put Pikachu underwater, he would drown.
Yeah, but they dried him out once already, and he just water in. I'm fairly certain. You want to get into anime shit? I'm fairly certain SpongeBob could beat One Punch Man.
I'm fairly certain that Hank Hill is the strongest anime character ever. Thank you. So let's not get into that.
Hank Hill.
I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what. Let's not get into that one, okay?
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
Do it, Alex.
Whoa! Whoa!
Oh,
that's good
now,
stuff.
damn it, Bobby. I do not condone that kind of behavior.
Holy
That's pretty
shit.
good. That was good, man.
You were cutting out, unfortunately for our listeners, you were cutting out a little bit there. I'll tell you what.
Listeners, what kind of is that newfangled internet?
Oh man, that's spot on, bro. Oh my goodness.
Music smell. What does the music sound like farting? What is this dubstep?
We could just do this for a fucking hour.
No, there's a transition here somewhere, and I'm usually
That would not be very
This
good.
is something we
Nothing right
shouldn't
now.
do.
Good at all.
There's
That
It's
usually
not a shit posting channel. And that's, yeah.
Yes, it is. Every episode of Mercury
Anyway.
Cast.
I don't know what it is.
Okay,
but-
let's circle back for a little bit. Now that we're all adults here, kind of. What has and I think that me growing up semi-middle class is fucked. I wish I had some kind of immigrant mentality. I wish I had some kind of growing up poor mentality. I always just think that I know that I don't, but somewhere in the back of my head, there's like, oh, unlimited resources everywhere, and just kind of float through life doing what the fuck. And that's my take on my experience from childhood to adult. You guys, nobody here is a CEO, and I don't have a lot of money right now.
I own my own company.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the president of my own company.
Well, explain something to me then.
Okay. What do you mean explain something to you?
Explain it.
I'm still poor.
About what has your mentality that was growing up poor, and I hate to use that word, but
It's all right.
how does it affect your adult decisions?
I know what it's like to not eat for a few days. I know what it's like to have to sleep in a park. And I'm not gonna fucking do that. So I definitely don't want to rob, kill, or steal. You know. So I'm gonna have to
steal a little bit. I mean,
No,
No.
you shouldn't.
No.
That if you think about it, there's really only one sin, and it's theft. So when you lie to somebody, you steal the truth from them. When you kill somebody, you steal their life from them. There's really only one evil, and it's thievery.
I might be
So-
an evil son of a bitch.
Well, I mean, no,
I'll
don't get me
tell
wrong. So
I'll tell you a little story of growing up poor, Mr. Travis. I once I stole a piece of bazooka bubble gum. It was 5 cents, and I felt so bad about it that I went back with a dime and left it on the counter.
baller.
Fuck.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was a teenager, I wasn't the most honest kid, but I mean, I think that it's not good to rob people.
Yeah, I've done a lot of fucked up shit. I don't know how else to say it. Then
Theft makes
That's as
more
deep as you need to go. Whoops, sorry.
not that I'm proud of it, but
I'll
shit,
say this though. There are worse crimes. I think there are worse crimes for somebody to commit than like robbery. Unfortunately, to say
Like-
that.
Oh, for instance, having a barbecue.
Yeah, like in a park and you're using fucking charcoal. Okay, the devil's
They're
devil's
using the
fuel.
grill. Barbecuing while brown.
Olivia, what would you say that what happened in your childhood has influenced your decision making skills? And what
That's kind of hard.
you can take a minute if you need to.
I'm the black sheep of my family, and I've taken very different approaches in life. Just about anything I do is frowned upon, whether it's generally a good thing or not. Always good. Everything I do is probably bad. It's just my mom's a really judgmental and controlling person. So I understand she has good sentiments and wants me to succeed, but doesn't show it in a very good or effective way.
She Catholic?
So a lot of it, and a lot of it caused me to rebel once I actually was able to leave the house, and I just started doing a bunch of other things. Most of the things were like, oh, this is bad, this is all bad. And she had no good reason or rational or logical reasons bad. like, of course, there's like the obvious things, but not everything that she viewed as bad is actually bad. It's just her opinion, her viewpoint on things, and she just tried to like mush that into me, and it didn't work.
Well, there's
Which is
also a
why,
culture. There has to be a culture divide there too. So some of her
yes,
expectations and things that are probably clear in her mind that shouldn't be existent in your world are different than what you've learned growing up in America rather than
yes, and
growing up somewhere.
the main one is religious. So she doesn't like my atheism. So everything that I've done wrong in life has been blamed on my atheism.
Oh, you told her about that, huh?
That might
Yeah,
be a
I told her
lens.
4 years ago.
That might be a lens
Four
over how
years.
your parents view you then. Because I know, like, I come from, well, my parents aren't super religious, but I know, like, people religious, they look at atheism and it's like nothing you'll ever do will make sense to them because they're going to see
Yeah.
you through this lens and everything they're going to see is going to be a product of your atheism,
I'm
good
actually-
or bad.
Maybe for another episode, but I'm actually very curious how your family views your faith.
They don't really talk. I don't talk about it. They're not religious, so I have no reason to bring it up. And whenever I do reference religion, I always reference the Bible. I just don't talk about it.
You're gonna be like, "Hey guys, I'm Muslim." Yeah, okay. Well, where you got a job now? You working or what?
Yeah, yeah. They don't give a shit.
Take the trash out. You don't do anything around here.
Yeah, so you're gonna be on my ass about something.
I like them.
Just completely change the subject. Like, hey guys, I want to have a meaningful talk with you. I've found this new faith and blah blah. Blah. Yeah. Are you gonna make the potatoes or what's going on here?
That's you know what that sounded like straight out of my childhood. Like you ripped an audio clip out of my one of this childhood memories.
Sweet. Yeah, and I'll go back to it again. Sometimes I wish like, and then I'll see. I was talking with an Indian immigrant 2 days ago. Actually, he came over here, and we had a discussion. And it's like these people come here with just the biggest motivation, and they press their kids to just squeeze the last drop of success out of them. Same thing with a lot of the Asian people that come here and a lot of Asian cultures, and to an extent, you know, for Mexicans at least, the work ethic, and it's just like growing up middle class white. It hasn't been a privilege for me. Maybe in a sense where I was comfortable living, but as an adult, I wish that I had these ingrained disciplines in me. And not to say that white privilege doesn't exist in certain forms. Okay, sure, it does. But, and even growing up, like Theo Vaughn has a good joke. He's like, I don't know what white privilege is. He's like, white privilege in my neighborhood growing up in Louisiana was somebody had a sweater. No, because it was like just nobody. He didn't even have, like Alex said, shoes or anything like that. So I mean, that's not exactly privilege. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in certain forms in certain individuals. If anything, Jewish privilege it is higher than that. But
Yeah, let's get on that. I'd like to talk about that.
Okay.
yeah, I knew Darien was going to jump on that one.
I could talk for hours. We're not gonna go there.
I got too
No.
many Yahoo friends to get into that topic.
I've actually, and to totally switch gears, I've actually kind of switched I've always been neutral on what's going on over there in Gaza, but when you're sending children and women to the front lines, like Hamas is doing, like that's no bueno, man.
So
Yeah.
on the adverse though, when you're shooting white phosphorus at peaceful protesters, or you're shooting people who are throwing rocks from 100 meters or 100 yards away, yeah, when you're using white phosphorus on people, it'll really make me not happy with you.
Well, why would you send babies to the front line? And
well, if your baby's gonna die regardless,
especially when Palestine has already officially admitted or has officially accepted Israel as a legitimate country and only expects to receive for their land to be a legitimate country as well. I think if we're going to get into the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we need to approach it honestly, and it'll need to be a different.
Well,
I think that I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get. Well, there's briefly. I'd like to graze over just a few topics
Well, I
here.
think we're already there. I think we can spend 20 minutes on it.
All right, let's do it because I have some very interesting things I'd like to say on this. As you guys can tell, it's probably a very important topic to me religiously. So here's the thing.
And by the way, Darien's a Muslim.
Yeah,
He's one of
so
them.
I'm one of
Which
them
I
newfound
totally
white
respect.
ones. I'm one of those rare white ones.
Okay.
Exclusive.
Wait, one. Okay.
Yeah.
Just don't convert to
Limited.
Sharia law. Oh, go ahead.
No, we're good. We're
Should I
good.
be
So,
extra scared?
no, you're good. You're good. So here's the issue. So here's
It's just like terrorist times 2 right now.
Olivia, that was the joke of the night. That was the joke of the night. You just nailed it. I'm sorry.
So here's the thing. When it comes to that conflict, why did Britain even occupy Palestine to begin with? Why was it their right to occupy that land? But let's skip ahead. That's like old news, right?
No, more importantly, when did that happen?
Like 1940 something.
And then Palestine was created.
No. Palestine, I think, was created under the rule of the Romans when they exiled the Jewish population, right?
And how long has the Israelis been there?
They've been there for thousands of years, but officially, the Zionists have been there since the 1940s, right? 1940s, I think, 1950s, something like that.
Palestine was created in the 40s, wasn't it?
No, Palestine was created like under the rule of the Philistine.
But they would never call themselves that.
Palestine has occupied, or Palestinians have been in that area for over 1,000 years.
Right,
but they didn't call themselves Palestinians until the 1940s.
Okay, but that's
after the World War II. After World War II, when everyone fled, when a lot of the Jews fled to Israel, that's when the shit started hitting the fan. That's when the official Palestine was created. I could be wrong. I was just reading about it earlier today.
Here's the issue. Here's the topic I wanted to bring up, though. When you talk about they're sending children to the front lines, well, if your kid was going to die regardless, I mean, this is one logic here. Now, I'm not justifying that. I think it's horrible, it's abhorrent, and it's disgusting, and it's hard to watch. And I've seen it, and I don't support Palestine's actions either. I don't think that they're making the right moves here either. But I just think that Israel is just a constant source of aggression and hegemony, and it's just they're not helping the situation over there. We've seen plenty of examples of them just shitting all over Palestinians, shooting at people who aren't armed. But then again, you see them Palestinians, like you said, pushing their children on that one video.
No. So, that's what they were doing.
But okay,
one more thing I'd like to add to this before I conclude this thought here. I kind of went off on a tangent a little bit, but we were talking earlier about how ancestry and how genealogy can play an effect on a person's mentality, and their mentality obviously has a direct effect on their actions. Well, if you look at, there's some statistics that show that when you take Arab lands and stuff, you see a lot higher rates of incest. And over the course of generations, that can cause people to have erratic and violent behavior, a tendency towards erratic and violent behavior. And so,
it's genetic.
Yeah, it could be a genetic factor too as to why. I mean, if you read the Quran, it directly states that you're not supposed to like kill people with fire because it's a condemnable sin, right? But then how is a bomb vest like one of the most popular tactics for these people?
Yeah. So what's it called when you create a baby through incest? What?
A fucking mutant. That's what it's called. Sorry.
There's a word for what kind of person it makes. Inbred.
Oh, inbred. Yeah, an inbred. They're inbred.
So a lot of what's going on, and I heard this stat before, and it's through big studies. I know Alex doesn't like to agree with big studies, but there's something along the lines of 70% of Muslims in I forget which area it is, but
Persians have a very high inbreeding rate.
Correct. And so inbreds themselves have a very high propensity for violence.
Exactly.
Crazy shit.
My issue is that a supposedly civilized country with U.S. backing is using white phosphorus and flechette rounds.
Exactly.
On unarmed people.
But here's the thing: is that where this is happening?
No, you're here's the thinging me. White phosphorus and flechette rounds are against the Geneva Convention. So a supposedly civilized country is breaking international laws that they're protected by from
on
other
our
countries.
dollar. On our dollar.
I am not.
They're
I'm unfamiliar
filled
with the white
with
phosphorus stuff. I'm not.
I'm
You have to
gonna-
send me some links about that because
I'm gonna
I don't
send
know
you.
about that.
I'll send you videos, and I'll show you what white phosphorus does to people, and you
Okay.
can tell me if it's okay that Israel's
It
using it.
burns.
Okay, but here's
And they're
another.
using it to illuminate the sky in broad daylight.
So that border that they're fighting on is really far away from any kind of territories. There's vast grass fields. So what they did was they brought these women and children there to the front line. It's not like they were just their houses are just right there. They brought them there in order as a humanitarian type of leverage that they're going to try and implement. There's no. It's not like this fight was happening in anybody's backyard. There's a bunch of grass fields that separate most of what's going on, and people.
Israel has been shaking.
Why would you bring a baby there? Why would you bring a baby there?
True. No, you're right to say that. You're right to say that. But why is there a conflict? Why is this conflict even an issue right now?
Why won't Israel accept Palestine's wishes just to be independent? Why can't they be?
I don't know if
recognized?
Palestine. I don't know if Palestine now. Maybe this is the
Officially,
plan,
since 1980, the Palestinian government has accepted, or the Palestinian leadership has accepted Israel as a legitimate country.
Well,
It has
I can't
only
stand-
asked in return to receive the same legitimacy on their own, whereas Israel refuses to accept any Palestinian
But
legitimacy.
what about when Hamas?
All
What
of-
about the power transfer? There's been power transfers in
Hamas?
Palestine.
Most Palestinians are against Hamas.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They may be against them in spirit, but you
Palestinian
can't.
leadership is against Hamas.
I thought Hamas was a Palestinian leadership now.
Nope, they are not.
Yes, they are.
No,
They're
they have
definitely
control,
part
from
of
my
it.
understanding.
And most of the people that died, most of the people that died during that conflict were from Hamas. They were Hamas terrorists. And then there's some babies and some women and children.
That's U.S. media. Use global media instead.
I do. I go like to Al Jazeera and shit like that.
Hamas is not leadership for Palestine.
No, but I think that they have a.
They are among the leadership. Yes,
They
they
have
are.
a seat. They have a seat at the table for sure. I think. Now, I think it goes a little deeper than this too. I mean, when you have it's not a Jewish thing, but there's definitely a sect of Judaism that believes in this book called the Talmud, which is a really just disgusting book. And excuse me, I'm sorry, but it is. And it tells the Jewish people that they are God's chosen people and they're above all others and that they are better than, and they call us non-Jewish people goyim. I'm just going to spill the beans now that we're on the topic. This is how I feel. Yep. And they call us goyim, which is a beast. It means golem. It means somebody to be used as a vessel to accomplish one's goals, a golem. And that's what they call that. And this is not believed and held by all Jewish people. This is the Orthodox Jewish people.
There are American Jews that believe it.
No, this is the Orthodox. Yeah, I've been called goyim before too. This is the Orthodox Jews that mostly believe this, and it's a big problem because those are the people who are mostly supporting this Israel, the nation of Israel. It's these Orthodox Jewish people. They're absolutely fucking madmen. Excuse me, but it's just as bad as ISIS or the Taliban. It's just as bad. And you know what? And we can say, oh, they wear brimmed hats, so they're a little bit more civilized, and they came out of Europe. Well, you know what? The reason, you know what the word Holocaust means? It means burnt offering. It appears in the Bible. Abraham made a Holocaust to God. He burnt things. So I really don't think that the answer to this nation, why Israel is such an issue today, is really all that easy of an answer because we can't even talk about certain contributing factors to it.
It's not.
The people that support this ideology. I mean, I'm sorry to go off the hinge a little bit, but the people who support this ideology have not been working on this plan since 1940 or 1880. They've been working on this plan since like before Jesus popped out, since the days of Babylon. I mean, they believe that. No, I'm serious. They believe that Israel was supposed to be the nation of all nations to lead all other nations. So they're doing what they.
Are you going to jump in? Because I got a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I'm going to say I agree a lot from my personal experience, very personal experience. But also, there are a large number of Jews here in America, in Israel. And I don't think you would say that if it weren't for a very volatile sect controlling Israel, and if not for the humanitarian atrocities being committed by Israel. There are a large number of Jews that are against Israel. Very large number. I think they've even got
Israel is the only one committing humanitarian atrocities in this equation? They're the only ones?
No, they're not the only ones, but they shake the stick a lot, like sabotaging Palestinian water supplies since they've been granted complete control.
No, you know who's the biggest supplier of food and resource and supplies to Palestine is? Do you know who the biggest supplier is? It's Israel.
You know who has complete control over all of the water in that region? Israel. The Palestinians can't grow their own. That's part of why there's.
I don't disagree with that. They also have control over the world banking system. They also have control over the U.S. media. They also have control over.
I'm not talking about the economic. I'm talking about. Yes, of course they provide the food because they want Palestinians to feed from their hand. They want control.
Yeah, the Democrats also house black people and give them. The Democrats also, house black people
because they want them to be their sheep. Because they want them to vote. Because they want.
It doesn't. Exactly, it's a control method. And now here's the thing:
if the Palestinians had their own water so that they could irrigate crops, they wouldn't be relying on food.
Back in the day, Muslims and Jews coexisted in Muslim lands quite peacefully. Like they say, the Muslims say in the book Quran, it says, behead the Christians and Jews. No. That's not what that means. When it says behead the non-believers, it's talking about the people who say that they're Muslims and go in to commit atrocities like ISIS. So the Jews were allowed for a very long time to live peacefully in Muslim lands. You just had to pay a tax. Okay, well, I don't necessarily agree with taxes, as you guys know, but here's the thing. You have a group of people who are conspiring over thousands of years, or let's say hundreds of years even, whatever, it's thousands of years, to establish a nation that is meant to be put in front of all other nations, and when it comes to prioritizing themselves and resources and all other things and security. So they're really the aggressors there, I think. If you're gonna do whatever is possible, if you believe that it's your sole purpose to lead humanity, regardless of your actions and regardless of the means in which it takes you to get there, that's an act of aggression.
Okay, answer me this question: does Israel have the power to just completely wipe out all of that territory, carpet bomb it? Do they have the technology and the capability of just in one single? Just to wipe out all that area.
Not without drawing too much attention.
Yep. You got to be too much.
Do they have that capability?
They have the capability.
Yes or no?
They have the capability.
And who would hold them responsible to that?
And that's
the UN?
The United...
No,
the UN.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay.
If they large scale, they couldn't write it off like the white phosphorus saying.
Who the hell has Palestine's back except for
I think, okay, here's the thing. If it came down to an all-out warfare and we started slugging it out, it's going to be an all-out war, and they would take so much damage. And that might cause
Israel could flatline Palestine tomorrow.
Right. Understandably.
But it's not without Iran retaliating.
Exactly what I was going to say.
If Iran had a nuke, they would have launched it at Israel.
No, it's not about nukes. It's not about nukes. It's just about the fact that if you go for the kill, okay, I've seen a squirrel kill a rattlesnake, right? The squirrel obviously died, but he still fucked that rattlesnake up, and the rattlesnake died too.
You guys are defending Iran right now. You know how insane.
No, I'm not defending Iran. What I'm saying is that Israel has the strength to do it, but that's going to mean total just annihilation.
Exactly.
And destabilization.
No.
You know what? They
could do it if they wanted to. If they really wanted to, they could do it.
No, they could.
Stop sending food and aid. If Palestine would stop sending women and children to the front line, they wouldn't die. And if Hamas wasn't backing them, they wouldn't be such demonized.
That's not at all.
That's not true.
If they stopped sending women and children to the front line, they'd still be killed.
Yeah, it would just happen slower, and it wouldn't make the news. But, I think if Israel went for the win, if they went for the gold overnight, you know what would happen? Not only would it cause a lot of damage upon the Israeli people, because everybody would go at them. The leaders of a lot of these leaders of these crazy groups can trace their lineage back to Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's that serious to them. And so they're not going to go out without a fight. If they're going to die,
they're already going after Israel. I mean,
to an extent, not to this extent. I'm talking about if you're talking about like if Israel just for some reason decided that it was going to go down overnight and take all this shit down and can establish Greater Israel, there's no way that they're going to do it without taking some sort of serious damage. Okay, and not only in their localized damage, but might completely destabilize their
But
communities.
do it.
But people in the Western worlds, no, well, they could, but you could also shoot yourself in the head. It's not going to help you. You know what I'm saying? The people in the Western worlds would also go fucking crazy. You think the problems are bad now? Israel starts carpet bombing people. Watch how bad it gets. I'm just saying, it's not. It would,
Would Palestine, if they had the same, technology,
the U.S. would withdraw heartbeat.
Yeah, we would have to.
Right. They control our money. There's no way that would happen.
So print new fucking money.
They would no longer control our money if they didn't exist anymore. We would pull out in a heartbeat and let them fight their own fight.
Because if we didn't pull out, normal, rational people, normal, constitutional carrying people who love this country, if we started supporting that type of atrocity, might get a little pissed off.
Well,
might get a little pissed off.
Well, on the other hand, what happens if Iran gets a nuke and hits Israel with it? There's World War III.
You can't hit Israel. You can't hit Israel with a nuke. You can shoot a nuke at Israel.
There's so many we've placed so many anti-missile arrays in Israel on our dime that they could never get hit by it.
Yeah, you could technology though.
You could shoot nuke at Israel, but you can't.
The only way they could nuke Israel would be by sneaking in a ground nuke or a dirty bomb. That's
Good luck. You can't even sneak in a child.
Nope. They got them balls.
Hey, it can happen.
It could. Nothing's impossible. But you know what? It might. False flags are a great way to amp the escalate the violence. So maybe.
Shit,
we never mentioned what would happen if they were to carpet bomb Palestine. What would happen when it comes to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They would get hit by every angle.
Them too. How about that? Fuck
they would get hit by every angle. They would. Okay,
and I'm not anti-Palestine. I'm just saying what they've been up to lately, and it's been not cool at best.
I agree. But you have to think though, man.
I've always been on the fence on this issue, but once I've seen what happened after they moved the embassy to Jerusalem, which is, I mean, kind of a nothing burger for me, but it's something for somebody else. The stuff that went on after that, it seems like the Palestinians way more at fault for the violence and not as much as the Israelis.
Well, yeah. No, I think that they're both. I think that the Palestinians are, what they're doing is abhorrent. It's disgusting by putting their children on the front lines. But if my child was gonna get fucking bombed or missiled or something, I'd rather at least him get to see the person shooting.
That's not they just moved the embassy. That's not like they were creating missile attacks and
they're going to continue.
That's bullshit right there, because the embassy moved at the same time as the founding of Palestine after the Israeli
existence of Israel is an act of aggression, is what I'm saying. Them existing there is an act of aggression.
The moving of the embassy, they timed it at the exact same anniversary of the founding of Palestine after the Israeli occupation.
God.
You're aware of that, right?
Yeah.
The same day, right?
So what I'm saying is that
and then everyone turns it into it's Trump's fault.
They've done those protests. They've done those protests every year on that day. You can't say that it was moving the embassy that did it. They've done those protests every single year since the 80s.
If you had somebody move in next door to you who all of your neighbors kept telling you, hey, not only is this guy fucking a total weirdo, but he's a thief and a murderer. Okay? He's never been caught though. We never pinned anything on him, but he'll steal your shit and he'll kill you and your children in your sleep. Okay? What would you? How would you feel? Would you move? Would you want to move, or would you want to maybe would you go knock on the guy's door with a shotgun and be like, "Hey, get the fuck out of my neighborhood"?
So just because the embassy moved means that all
it's not. It doesn't start like 2018, man. I'm telling you, this is an age old. This has been going on for thousands of years, and it's because of
I'm telling you, the embassy move meant nothing because they've done this exact protest every year on the same day.
So what's the difference then?
There's no difference. You're bringing up the embassy move, which makes no sense.
The embassy means nothing.
That's where the violence comes from.
Okay, so
there's a difference between protest and violence. And
they're throwing rocks at people with fucking assault rifle. Cool. Or sorry, assault rifle. They're throwing rocks, fully automatic weapons. Yeah, those rocks are totally gonna are totally warranted to take pot shots from far away. Yeah, they're throwing rocks. Oh no.
Where are you getting your information from?
No, I've seen the videos. I've seen videos of these people throwing rocks at a fence.
How
and
long
the
were
Israeli
these
soldiers?
videos? How long were these videos?
Several minutes long, like maybe under 5 minutes.
The soldiers laughing about how they're going to shoot the person, rocks pelting a fence, and then them going, "Oh, do you want to hit them there or there?"
Well, send me some links because
Yeah, we'll definitely spam the shit out of your inbox after this talk.
cool. I want to know more. But
Hey,
from what I see is that
Olivia, I sent you some of those photos, right? Would you say that those photos were humane?
No, they're not. They're pretty.
Would you say that something disturbing?
I would say so. Yeah, because there's half a
seems to
baby's
me like,
body.
You're being a
Half is
little
burnt
naive
up.
to what's going on in the 360 view of you're only seeing one side of
No,
it.
I think
I
don't think you're seeing the full.
side.
No, I don't think that we're seeing the full picture here.
I was pro-Israel. I was pro-Israel until I fucking grew up and actually looked into it with an open and honest heart. And I'm like,
Same.
wow, holy shit, they're shaking sticks at people.
Yeah, but you're only 20 something. So you haven't even
the little kid. They're the little kid that will run up and kick you in the leg, and then when you smack them up across the head, they cry to their mom saying, "They bullied me." It's like you just fucking.
Israel actually stands up for himself, and they're not a little kid.
No, they don't stand up for themselves. No, they don't stand up for themselves. They spoil themselves on other people's dollar. That's why they're kicked out of every country in the world. They're kicked out of what, like 140 countries or something like that to date?
Who are Jewish people?
Yes. They were kicked out of like over 100 countries throughout modern history, like up until like what the year
this just
800.
took a weird turn.
They were kicked out of all these countries. And you know, and another thing too, this has very little to do with what's happening. All this aggression and animosity has less to do with what's happening in Israel and in Palestine right now, and more to do with what happened in Babylon, aka Iraq, thousands of years ago. There was this ideology, because you can kill a human being. Look at how many people have died in this war that's been going on. It's not about the people. It's not about one man or one child. It's about ideologies. And there's an ideology that was created that tells people that they're superior and that they can use any means that they want to achieve this success.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree that they have a certain amount of arrogance.
Oh, a certain amount. They have the arrogance. They have the
entitlement, and this maybe should be continued at some point with the at the expense of sounding uninformed, and maybe we need to cross our T's a little bit better.
Oh, I don't know. But, my T's are crossed.
Just to say, and we're going to wrap this up here. I've been neutral. Like I said, I've been totally neutral on the issue. I saw both sides, but once I see you're bringing babies to the front lines, that's kind of where I draw the line.
I'll say this: fuck Israel and Palestine. How about that? Excuse my language.
Cool. Yeah.
Fuck them both. Yeah. Equally.
Yeah. What's that? You guys seen that one T-shirt? We're all scum, and they have everyone's hand like right there.
Yeah, I love that.
We're all scum.
I love it.
All right, guys. Well, it's been real. It's been a real one.
It's been a real one.
Yeah, we need to have a fun episode with us three or us four, because without such the seriousness, we can just get really silly. I feel.
Oh yeah. Hey guys, I'm actually gonna. Well, never mind. This isn't a proper topic. Never mind. Go ahead.
No, what are you gonna say? No, I'm curious.
I don't want to drop the bomb on a podcast live. I'll message you guys. It's a move I'm gonna make, but I think you guys will like it.
Suicide bomber?
No, come on. It's not funny, man. I don't want the fucking.
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding, bro. I won't say that again.
I love America. I love America. U.S. Constitution. I love America.
I had to throw that. That's the only time I'm ever gonna use that.
All right, I'm wearing my MAGA hat all day now.
Okay. So at the closing, we just need to tell people to do what, Alex?
Not
going to do
it. Step day game up.
Step
the game up. Darien, can I get you to tell people to step the game up?
Okay. So closing advice. I'm going to say everything that happens in your life is your fucking fault. And if you're not where you want to be in life, it's your own damn fault. Start working harder.
Jesus.
Start working smarter.
I don't know if I agree with that. Olivia, can you tell people to step their game up?
Don't do it.
Come on,
Oh,
Olivia.
wait, that's the thing. That's what we got to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We have to say it.
Yep.
Don't
Come on.
Or you get the gas.
Whoa.
block bar.
I don't know. Just become well informed and stop following
Not gonna do
stupid
it.
trends.
No, you got to say
That's-
step up your game. What are you doing?
Step
I
your
don't
game
know.
up.
Step up your game.
Step your game up.
Step your game
Step
up.
your game up.
Step it up.
Oh,
Stop putting me on the spot.
Your game is down
Oh.
here.
you did great, Olivia, and you're beautiful. All is well. Step your game up.
Fuck off.